Steven Stayner made a brave choice. Kenneth Parnell had brought home another boy, just 5 years old,
and absolutely disappeared from the face of the earth.
Steven knew he couldn't let this happen again. He remembered his own pain, the years lost, the lies told. He couldn't stay silent. On March 1, 1980, Steven took the young boy Timothy White and ran. He walked for miles in the dark, with no money and no plan, just courage. He found a police station in Ukiah and walked in. "I think I know who I am," he told them. The truth unraveled fast. After 7 years, Steven Stayner was finally going home, and he brought another boy to safety with him. When the news broke, the world was stunned. The boy who vanished had come back. His family cried. Reporters rushed in. Cameras flashed. But Steven, now a teenager, was changed. He had survived the unthinkable. But the journey ahead would be just as hard as the one he had escaped. A family shattered. Steven's return should have brought joy. And it did. But it also brought pain. He was no longer the little boy who had disappeared. He was a teenager, shaped by years of trauma. His parents, relieved but overwhelmed, didn't know how to connect with the son they lost. His siblings felt distant from him, especially his older brother, Kerry, who had lived in Steven's shadow ever since his return. The media praised Steven as a hero, but at home, things were difficult. He struggled to adjust to normal life. School was hard. People stared. Some kids teased him. The Stayners had their son back, but the family had changed forever. Everyone tried to move forward, but the cracks ran deep. Steven needed help, but therapy wasn't common back then. He was left to carry his pain alone. Behind the headlines and praise, the Stayners were quietly falling apart, one piece at a time. Media turns brutal. Steven's story captured the nation. Reporters called him a hero. Talk shows lined up to interview him. A TV movie was even made about his life. At first, it seemed like recognition, a chance to honor his bravery. But the spotlight soon turned harsh. Every detail of Steven's trauma was picked apart. Strangers asked personal questions. Some even doubted his story. The media didn't stop to consider his pain. They only wanted a headline. Steven felt exposed. The fame was not something he asked for. It made healing harder. His family, too, struggled with the pressure. They were known everywhere, but no one really knew what they were going through. Instead of peace, the cameras brought more pain. Steven was just trying to live a normal life, but the world wouldn't let him forget or be forgotten. His nightmare had ended, but the media made sure it never truly disappeared. Truth vs. fame. As Steven tried to rebuild his life, he faced a difficult battle. The difference between being known and being understood. The world saw him as a hero, a brave survivor. But Steven didn't feel like one. Inside, he was still hurting. Fame didn't fix the damage, it only hid it. He gave interviews, answered questions, and smiled for cameras. But behind the scenes, he struggled with anger, confusion, and deep sadness. He had missed his childhood. He had lost trust. And now, even his healing was on display. Some people questioned his actions. Why didn't he run sooner? Why didn't he tell someone? These questions hurt the most. They ignored the fear and manipulation he had lived under. Steven had done everything he could. And in the end, he had saved another child. But truth didn't always matter to the public. They wanted drama. They wanted a story. Steven was caught between the truth of his trauma and the fame that followed him. And slowly, the weight began to take its toll. A brother's crime. While Steven fought to move forward, his older brother Kerry Stayner was quietly breaking apart. Kerry had always been the quiet one, artistic and smart, but troubled. After Steven returned, Kerry felt invisible. The attention his brother received created a shadow that he couldn't escape. Years later, that quiet pain turned into something dark. In 1999, Kerry Stayner shocked the world when he was arrested for the brutal murders of 4 women near Yosemite National Park. The Stayner name was once again in the headlines. But now, for a horrifying reason, people were stunned. How could one family be linked to 2 of the most shocking crimes in modern history? First Steven's kidnapping, and now Kerry's killings. Reporters dug into their past, looking for answers, but some questions had no clear explanations. Steven had once been seen as a symbol of strength and survival. Now, Kerry became a symbol of something else: darkness, violence, and a family tragedy that went far beyond one child's kidnapping. The horror had returned, this time from within. Pain repeats again. Steven Stayner's life was cut short in 1989, just 9 years after his heroic escape. He died in a motorcycle accident at only 24 years old. The tragedy devastated his family and the many who saw him as a symbol of courage. He had fought to reclaim his life, and just as he began to find peace, it was taken away. His wife and 2 children were left behind. The world mourned, but few truly understood how much he had endured in his short life. For his family, the pain was unbearable. They had already lost him once. Now they had to say goodbye again, this time forever. But the nightmare didn't end there. A decade later, the Stayners faced another blow. Carrie's crimes shocked the nation, reopening old wounds. The pain Steven carried had rippled through the family. The spotlight returned, not for survival this time, but for horror. The story that had once inspired hope was now tangled in grief and confusion. 1 family, 2 sons, 2 unimaginable paths, one of survival, the other of destruction. For the Stayners, the pain seemed to come back again and again, never giving them rest, justice, or chaos. Carrie Stayner's trial became national news. The quiet, artistic man who once dreamed of working for National Geographic was now facing charges for cold-blooded murder. The details were chilling. His victims had been tourists, innocent women enjoying nature, unaware of the danger nearby. In court, Carrie confessed without hesitation. He claimed a lifetime of mental illness, trauma, and loneliness had pushed him over the edge. His defense argued that his brother's kidnapping and the chaos that followed had scarred him deeply. But the jury saw something else. A man who had planned and executed brutal crimes. He was sentenced to death in 2002 and remains on death row in California. But for the Stayner family, there was no true justice. They had lost both sons, one to tragedy, the other to darkness. The public asked how one family could endure so much horror. But the truth is, there was no easy answer. The Stayner story, from Steven's kidnapping to Carrie's crimes, remains one of America's most haunting and heartbreaking tales. It leaves us with a question. When pain runs deep and healing never comes, is justice ever really enough, or does chaos win?